Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm so excited you're here today. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content. Today I'm sharing the story of Thomas, an English learner who recently moved to London. Starting fresh in a new city is both thrilling and challenging, and Thomas's experience is a perfect example of that mix of excitement and nervousness. Imagine arriving in a city like London, full of history, culture, and new people, but also facing challenges like understanding the local accents or finding your way around. Tomas had his ups and downs, but his story is all about embracing those challenges and growing stronger from them. Before we jump into Tomas's journey, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with friends who love learning English and exploring new cultures. Let's dive in. Tomas's first day at school in London was a mix of excitement and nerves. After weeks of preparation, he was finally there, ready to start his new life in one of the world's most iconic cities. But as he stepped onto the campus, everything felt so unfamiliar. The school was huge, with so many buildings and hallways he didn't recognize. He was handed a map, but let's just say, navigating it felt like trying to read a foreign language. Tomas was already feeling a little lost, both physically and mentally. He found his classroom after a bit of wandering, but walking in was another challenge. There were so many students, all chatting in British English, some of them with thick regional accents. Tomas had been practicing his English for months, but hearing so many different accents and local phrases was a whole new level of difficulty. He smiled nervously at the teacher, who greeted him with a warm, "All right, Thomas." And Thomas had to do a double take. "All right." Was that a question or just a greeting? Tomas wasn't sure. It felt like a completely different language. The first few minutes of class were a blur. Tomas could catch some words, but other times it felt like the teacher was speaking at full speed, and he couldn't keep up. The whole room seemed to be laughing and joking, but Thomas just nodded, trying to blend in. The British humor was unlike anything he had encountered before, and some of the jokes went right over his head. The students had a way of speaking quickly, using expressions that Thomas hadn't learned yet, like cheers for thank you or knackered for being really tired. He realized that learning English was more than just grammar. It was about understanding the culture too. But despite the struggles, Tomas had a light-hearted moment when he was asked to read aloud. He stumbled over the word schedule, pronouncing it the American way, schedule, while everyone else said schedule. The room erupted in laughter, and Thomas turned bright red, feeling a little embarrassed. But the teacher kindly explained the difference, and his classmates reassured him that it was okay to make mistakes. It was a great icebreaker, and from that moment, Thomas felt more at ease with his classmates. As the day went on, Thomas got better at understanding the accents and the slang. He learned to ask questions when he didn't understand something and took note of new words he heard. By the end of the day, he had made a few new friends who were more than happy to help him out. Tomas realized that even though he wasn't fluent yet, he was on the right path. The important thing was that he was there, learning and pushing through the challenges. His first day wasn't perfect, but it was a solid start to his new life in London. When Tomas first arrived in London and stepped into his new school, he was filled with excitement, but also a fair bit of hesitation. Coming from a different country, he wasn't sure how to approach his classmates. Everyone seemed to already know each other, laughing and chatting comfortably in their British accents. Tomas felt like an outsider, unsure of how to break into the conversations. He often found himself sitting quietly at lunch, observing the group dynamics but not quite participating. His English was good, but there were still moments when he wasn't sure if he would understand everything, especially with the fast-paced speech and the slang that his peers used. For a while, Tomas stayed in his comfort zone, interacting mostly with the teachers and trying to get through each class. But as days passed, he realized that making friends was key to feeling truly settled in. One day during a history class, Tomas noticed a small group of students discussing an upcoming group project. They were talking about working together and sharing ideas. Tomas hesitated for a moment, wondering if they would let him join in. But then he decided to take a deep breath and walked up to them. "Hey, do you mind if I join your group?" Tomas asked, his voice a bit shaky. To his surprise, they welcomed him with open arms. One of the students for me, Sarah, smiled at him and said, "Of course we could use another brain." They all laughed, and Thomas felt instantly at ease. As the group worked together over the next few weeks, Thomas began to build connections. He wasn't just a classmate anymore. He was part of the group. They asked him about his country, his favorite foods, and what it was like to live in London. In turn, Thomas felt comfortable enough to ask them questions about British life and culture. This exchange helped him break out of his shell. Over time, Thomas's new friends helped him navigate not just school, but life in London. They invited him to study sessions where they'd go over homework, practice English phrases, and chat about different topics. Tomas wasn't just learning from textbooks, he was learning from the people around him. He began to pick up British slang that he had never encountered before, like sorted, meaning things are organized or taken care of, gutted, meaning disappointed, and chuffed, meaning pleased or happy. At first, Thomas found these expressions puzzling, but soon he was using them himself, laughing along with his classmates. One particularly funny moment came when Thomas tried to use the word cheers to thank someone. His British friends had been saying it all the time, so Thomas thought it was just another way to say thank you. One day when Sarah passed him a book in class, he cheerfully said, "Cheers." She looked at him, smiled, and said, "That's all right, Thomas, but we only use cheers when you're handing over a drink or leaving a place. Next time, just stick to thanks for that." Everyone burst out laughing, and Thomas, a bit embarrassed but amused, made a mental note to stick to the proper usage next time. As Thomas settled into school life, he began to explore London outside of the classroom, and that's when his fascination with the city really grew. London was so different from the place he had come from, with its mix of history, modernity, and culture. His first visit to Big Ben left him awestruck. The grand clock tower, so iconic in photos and movies, was even more magnificent in person. Thomas couldn't help but stand there for a few minutes, taking it all in, amazed by how such a simple landmark could hold so much history. Tomas also made it a point to visit famous markets like Camden Market, where he could see an entirely different side of London. The vibrant atmosphere, with its unique mix of food, clothing, art, and music, made Thomas feel like he was walking through a cultural mosaic. It was a place where people from all walks of life came together, and Thomas enjoyed exploring the different foods and items for sale. He felt like he was slowly becoming a part of the city's pulse, gaining an appreciation for the diversity around him. Food played a big role in Thomas's cultural immersion. One of his first British food experiences was having fish and chips, a staple in British cuisine. He was invited by Sarah and a few other classmates to a local pub where they ordered the classic dish. Tomas was a bit nervous at first as the portion sizes were enormous compared to what he was used to back home. But after the first bite, he was hooked. The crispy fish, the perfectly golden fries, and the mushy peas were a delicious introduction to British comfort food. Afterward, they all shared a laugh as Thomas joked about how mushy peas didn't sound very appealing, but they actually tasted great. Another British tradition Thomas had the chance to experience was Guy Fawkes Night, a celebration held on November 5th to commemorate the foiling of the gunpowder plot in 1605. His friends invited him to join in on the fireworks and bonfire celebrations. Tomas was fascinated by the tradition, which he had never heard of before. The night was filled with laughter, fireworks lighting up the sky, and people shouting, "Remember! Remember the 5th of November!" Tomas felt like he was part of something unique and special, a long-standing tradition that the British took pride in. However, not everything went smoothly in Thomas's cultural adaptation. One particularly funny moment came when he tried to navigate the public transport system. On his first ride on the London Underground, Thomas, eager to fit in, tried to follow the unwritten rule of standing on the right when using the escalators. But in his eagerness, he accidentally stood on the left side, blocking people who were in a hurry. A very polite Londoner tapped him on the shoulder and kindly said, "Excuse me, mate, but could you move over to the right?" Tomas quickly apologized and shuffled over to the correct side, a little embarrassed but now fully aware of the local customs. Despite these small cultural misunderstandings, Thomas was enjoying his time in London more and more each day. The city had so much to offer, and with each new experience, he was becoming more integrated into the culture. He realized that learning English was not just about language. It was about understanding the people, the traditions, and the way life worked in this vibrant city. Tomas was starting to feel at home. The weeks went by. Tomas noticed a remarkable shift in his confidence and fluency. When he first arrived in London, he struggled to understand the different accents and found it challenging to join in on conversations. But as time passed, Thomas became more comfortable engaging with his classmates and teachers. His English wasn't perfect, but he had grown much more confident in using it daily. Whether it was discussing school projects, making small talk with classmates, or even chatting with strangers on the bus, Tomas began to feel more at ease. One of the most significant moments came when Tomas was asked to lead a group discussion in one of his classes. At first, he hesitated. Was his English good enough? Would he make mistakes? But his classmates encouraged him, and he decided to give it a try. As he spoke, he realized how much his English had improved. His words flowed more naturally, and he was able to express his ideas without pausing too much. The feedback he received was positive, and Tomas felt a sense of pride. This moment was a turning point. It showed him how far he had come and gave him the confidence to continue pushing himself. Tomas also started feeling more confident in navigating the city. At first, the hustle and bustle of London streets had intimidated him. He would often find himself getting lost or unsure of where to go. But over time, he became more familiar with the public transport system, learned how to read the maps, and began to find his way around with ease. Whether it was hopping on the tube or walking to a cafe with friends, Thomas now felt like a true Londoner. He wasn't afraid to ask for directions when needed, and he had learned how to confidently interact with locals from ordering food in restaurants to asking about the best places to visit. Looking back at his journey, Tomas has come to realize that learning English and adapting to a new culture was a process of constant growth. It wasn't always easy, but every mistake and challenge helped him become stronger and more confident. Tomas's advice to other English learners is simple. Step out of your comfort zone, embrace your mistakes, and explore new cultures. It's through these experiences that we grow the most. If you enjoyed Thomas's journey, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone who dreams of learning English and experiencing life in a new country. Let's keep learning and growing together.